Every time anyone sees Pumping On, they will come away, loving the movie, getting inspired by the movie, but at the same time they're asking themselves, wow, was all of this stuff true? Did Arnold really psych out Lou Ferrigno? Did he really not go home to his father's funeral because it was just shortly before a competition? And was he really that cold that he said, well, forget that, he's dead already. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to just focus in on my competition. Is that true? I saw him hanging there afterwards, a celebration party after the Mr. Olympia, smoking a joint. Did he really smoke a joint? And did he, in fact, inhale? Is that true? Was it true that they stole Mike Katz's T-shirt? Was really the psyching out that he was doing on Lou Ferrigno, was that true? So they're walking out with a lot of questions. And so when I go around the country and promote the movie, for instance, even the 25th anniversary, when the film started playing on HBO, on Cinemax, a lot of journalists called me and says, oh, I just saw this for the first time, and asked me about all those questions. So I think it's important to clarify that there's certain things in this movie that were true, like the competition, the outcome of the competition, the training, the severity of the training, the severity of the pain, the sacrifices that needed to be made, the amount of hours we spent in the gym, the food supplements we had to take, the food that we had to eat all the time, the pounds of meat and all this kind of thing. All of that is true. But there were certain things that are not true. And that's why we never call it a documentary, we call it always a docudrama. Because certain things were created in order to make it more interesting. Because it was very clear to us that the only way we could raise the money for the movie, for our Pumping On, was by making it more dramatic. All the investors always said, look, the training is terrific, what they are doing is terrific and all this, but how much can we look at this footage of them doing squats and chin-ups and sit-ups and all this? It's boring. Even though exciting to them, but it's boring to us to watch. So therefore, let's create some drama, some conflict. Let's create a villain. Let's create a hero. Let's create the guy that has the psychological power over people. Let's create the guys that fall for it and they wipe out because of it. Let's have guys pulling tricks on each other in the gym when they're training, when they're 500 pounds on the back. What can they do to each other? Those are the kind of things I like to see. This is what the investors said. So we started creating those kind of moments as we went along. And we had 100 hours of footage that we created during the whole shooting of Pumping On, and then edited down to around 85 or 90 minutes. And so there we could take things in such a way that makes it then appear like I was psyching him out. I watch you.
I watch you too.
Oh, with the barbell above my head. I adapted as time went on, and I saw that Lou Ferrigno could not be what was in the original intention, to make him the villain, the big guy that weighs 280 pounds, that trains secretly in a dark room in New York and works himself up to this machine, to this Hulk, and then comes to South Africa and beats the little Schwarzenegger, wipes him off the stage. That really didn't happen. They thought it would happen, or that it could happen. But then they found out that he's actually a very vulnerable guy, that he has a hearing problem, that he needs his father's assistance a lot of times, that he was a big guy, but he did not have the kind of a presence that would make him look like an evil guy that wants there to come and destroy me. So slowly we changed the whole thing and actually made him the victim, and made me the guy that pulls the tricks on him and that wipes out the competition year after year. And the more I got into that, the more I started playing that machine. And I said to myself, how can I sell the idea that I'm a machine that has no emotions, that doesn't care about any of my competitors, not even my best friend that was living with me at the time, Franco Colombo. I could care less about him. He, as I said in the movie, is just a child. And on the day of the competition, I will become his father. I say though, that was, the reality was, I love Franco and I helped him as much. Even if it meant that he would win the competition, I would help him all the way. He was my friend, but in order to sound cold, and to sound like calculated, and like a machine, I played out this role. And I played out the role that what I would do with Lou Ferrigno. We created the things that I would psych him out. I created a scene just before the prejudging where I sat down with his father, with his mother, and with Lou Ferrigno. We all sat down. And there I was to this whole big psych-out job, telling him that I already called my mother. And she congratulated me. I told her I won 6 times Mr. Olympia. I said, she congratulated me. I said, you see, because I'm going to win later on, no matter what. And the reality of it is that, you know, I loved Lou. And there was no reason to do a psych-out job on him, because I felt 100% that I'm going to win the competition, because he was just not there at this level yet of competing. He was not ready yet to win the competition, so therefore there was no reason to psych him out. But we wanted to play it that he's really dangerous. He could wipe me out. He's huge. He's gigantic. And I have to now not only use the body, but I have to use the psychology. And I have to psych the father out, I have to psych the mother out, I have to psych Lou Ferrigno out, and I do this whole thing. And so throughout the movie we established that kind of a relationship. So there was another thing that we did in order to really make me be different than the other guys. If you want to be a champion, you cannot have any kind of an outside negative force coming in and affect you. So therefore I have to cut my emotions off and be kind of cold in a way. Then we wanted to sell the idea of how cold I am really, and how I have no emotions. For instance, now I took a story that I actually heard in France. One bodybuilder one time told me, 4 years before, a story about how he never went home to his father's funeral before a competition. How his father died and he just ignored it. And he says, yeah, here to stay focused. So I stole that story. And I said, I have to say that story. People will be shocked. People will be writing about it when this movie comes out. And that's how you get, of course, headlines and all those kind of things. And people will write about the movie. That's how we sell the tickets. So I said to myself, that's what I have to say. So I explained that I have no emotions. If someone steals the car right out in front of my house, I would just laugh at it and buy myself a new car. You know, of course, afterwards I said to myself, I said, hey, if someone steals my car, I cry probably, because this was my jewel. That was the reality. Then I continued on with the story. And I said, as a matter of fact, my father died one year, just before competition. And my mother called me and I said, are you going to come home to the funeral? And I said to her, why? He's dead already. So I acted really totally cold, and people, it really worked. People were shocked about this. Some of them were appalled by this. And so, of course, since then I've been getting those questions, is this true, is this not true? I mean, did your father really happen? The reality of it is that it never happened. My father never died before any competition. He died 3 months after a competition in 1972, and I saw him just shortly before he died. And we had a fantastic relationship. So there was none of that, of not having any emotions, not caring of my father dying. So that's the reality. So I think people, now it is important for people to know what is the reality. There is an opposite example, is for instance with smoking the joint. I smoked the marijuana in the movie, an ant. And a lot of people ask me, did you really smoke a marijuana in this movie, or was it just fake? I said, no, I really smoked it, and I also inhaled, unlike some people claim.
You didn't see a blue t-shirt around? Waller had it?
The other question that people always ask me, Mike Katz was looking for his t-shirt in the movie. Did in fact everyone play a trick on him and steal his t-shirt or hide his t-shirt to confuse him and therefore lose the competition? The reality of it is that he did look for the t-shirt at one point just because he's misplaced it, but no one was hiding it. But after we saw this footage, we went out and shot additional footage to create a scene where a bunch of bodybuilders get together, throw the football, have fun, and then Ken Waller says, you know what I'm going to do to Mike Katz? I'm going to hide his t-shirt. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hide his bathing suit. I'm going to hide everything.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do when I get to Africa? I'm going to take Katz's shirt, I'm going to hide it. Mess his mind up a little bit.
So that football scene was actually shot way after the competition was over. And we have had all the footage already, just in order to create this scene of the Mike Katz getting his t-shirt stolen by Ken Waller, and that he messed up his mind, so he loses the competition. pain in your muscles and aching. That's what makes actually the muscle then grow. If you can't go through this pain barrier, forget it. One of the most common questions I also get is, did we take steroids? Because now, of course, drugs is such a big issue in sports. And the answer is yes. It was just in a beginning stage because bodybuilders in those days just experimented with it, but it was not illegal. We talked about it very openly. I mean, anyone that was asked, he says, you take steroids? Yeah, I take 3 Dianabol a day. Or someone else would say, I would take this, and that. It was not an illegal thing. Now, after it became a big problem, then our federation said, okay, bodybuilders ought not to take steroids, and there will be testing done. Surprise testing done. You could be called at any given time, and within 2 days you have to do a test, so you can't get rid of the whole thing out of your system or anything like that. So that's what's going on right now. The bodybuilders are tested continuously. It's as satisfying to me as having sex with a woman and coming. People still ask me, for instance, is it true? And they're still trying to find out. Is it in fact true that a pump is better than coming? Because that's what I said in the movie. And the reality, of course, is no, it has nothing to do with one and the other. It feels great to be a champion. It feels great to train. It feels great to pump up and all those things. But how can you compare one with the other? It's 2 different things. You better get both, the pump and the coming. But I mean, the reality is I made up a lot of this stuff because I felt like that's the way you get attention. You have to, I believe that the more sensationalistic that you are, and the more outrageous things that you say, the more you get quoted, the more you get in the papers, and the more the sport of bodybuilding will benefit, because the more stories we will get about the sport of bodybuilding. So that's what it really was all about. We couldn't have made this movie about Arnold Schwarzenegger, about my life or something like that, about my bodybuilding or my drive to win or all this stuff. That would have been boring and it wouldn't have done well. What made this movie successful is because we had so many bodybuilders in the movie that were very colorful. I mean, Lou Ferrigno had a specific part in this movie and it worked so well. People loved this character. Ed Corney, Franco Colombo, Ken Waller, Mike Katz, Serge Nubret. There were endless amount of guys that really brought the color and the dimensions to the film, and it made the relationships very interesting. Relationships that were, shown in the movie. A lot of it was true, and some of it was created and made up. But the reality of it is the movie has a lot of real stuff in there. The real competition, real training, real agony, real defeat, all of those kind of things it has in there.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Many people come up to me and say how they were inspired by pumping on. First I heard it about the book, then even 10 times more when the movie came out. They were inspired to train, it changed their lives. They tell you the most unbelievable stories of what impact it had, how it created in them the will to succeed in life and to do something with themselves, if it is in bodybuilding or in other sports or in business. It is amazing the impact the movie had. So I hope that this movie, when people watch this DVD, has the same impact on them as it had on many hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of people around the world. Which is they walk away and get inspired and jump into the weight room and lift the weights to find out if it's really true what I said. Is a pump better than coming? It's not, trust me.